And it's a great pleasure to welcome to our microphones Glen Campbell with a new album out called Unconditional Love. Good to have you. Boy, it's been a long time.
Yes, it has, Larry.
How you doing?
Nice to hear your voice.
Nice to hear yours. How you doing?
Wonderful. It couldn't be any better.
Now, one could say Glen Campbell is back, if we could question whether he's ever been away. I saw you a couple of years ago in Vegas. You were having a great time. Are you on a new tour? What's happening in addition to this album?
My manager, Stan Snyder, came up with an idea of doing a Glen Campbell Goodtime Hour Tour. You know, a la like the television show was take people out who you think are talented and good and do a road show. And it so happened that we got John Hartford, who wrote Gentle on My Mind and was, he was with me the first year and a half on the show. And Nicolette Larson, who's, boy, what a great singer she is.
Yeah.
And Jim Stafford, who, they're laughing when he goes on stage, they're laughing when he comes off stage. Jim Stafford is grown as a comedian. Have you seen him in the last year or so?
Have not at all.
I don't know if it was hanging around Tommy Smothers or doing what, but Jim Stafford is, I'm talking funny, Larry. He's good.
He also had hit records, too, some time back, Jim.
Oh, didn't he? Oh, I Love Spiders and stuff. He doesn't do that on the show, though.
No?
And My Girl, Bill.
Yeah. So now, where are you going with this? How extensive is this tour?
This one will go from, we start in Glendora tomorrow night, and on down to Fontana, and in the Palm Desert. I almost said Palm Beach. I'll get my list out here, Larry.
I mean, you're going a whole ton of places starting in California, right?
Right.
And
it's down to Phoenix, Arizona, Sun City. And I'm playing 2 gigs in my hometown. I'm playing Sun City Monday and Chandler, the new art center down there in Chandler. They built a new theater. It's great. They didn't have anything on that side of town. I'm glad they got something, too, because it's a really nice theater there in Chandler.
By the time you get to Phoenix...
Yeah, ain't that something?
What the name of this is the Glen Campbell Goodtime Tour?
Yeah, Glen Campbell Goodtime Hour Revisited. And it's actually a good time hour, 2 hours and 20 minutes. But, when I saw the title, by the time I get to Phoenix, it was on a Johnny Rivers album. And I listened to it and I said, wow, what a great song. But I think it could probably be done a little different. And I actually played on Pat Boone's record of By the Time I Get to Phoenix. And I tell people, the reason mine was a hit because I said she'll probably stop at lunch and give me a call. Where Pat and Johnny Rivers both said, she'll probably stop at lunch and give me a call. For whatever the difference there is.
You did a lot of black background playing for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, that was fun. Hal Blaine, a friend of mine, wrote a book, the drummer that was I was a member of a gang called the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah. The
reason they called it that, we was doing scab dates, 2 for $35, 2 songs for $35, non-union for Phil Spector. And we sat in a studio. The first one that I was ever on was, I think it was 1963, was He's a Rebel. And it's the Manila Vanilla situation, There was Darlene Love and the Blossoms, Jeannie King and Darlene in Love, and God, I can't think of the other gal's name now. But they sing He's a Rebel. And the name on it was The Crystals. And they were nowhere near the studio. They were, in fact, they were still in New York or wherever they lived, the gal that was the group of the Crystals at that time. And we sat there and we did 2 songs from about noon till about 5:30 that night, and the musicians got $35 apiece. Of course, the leader got $70. And that's where that Wrecking Crew thing started. And from there, it went to the same guys played on Strangers in the Night, Frank Sinatra. They played on You've Lost That Love and Feeling, the Righteous Brothers, Unchained Melody, which is a big hit all over again now.
Yeah.
And
what was
the studio work was incredible.
What was your first hit?
Turn Around, Look at Me in 1962.
That's, 30 years next year.
30 years next year. That's a funny story. The guy's name is Jerry Capehart. I'm going to talk out of school on your show tonight. Is that all right?
Go ahead.
I was new in the business, and I wrote, there's someone who really needs you. Here's my heart in my hand. Turn around, look at me, and understand. The Vogues did it, had a big hit on it. He said, I owe BMI some money. Let me put it in my name, and then I'll pay you. I said, fine. You know how much I've received from that song as a writer?
How much?
Nothing. the guy, he said he'd sue me. I said, oh, great, sue me. So I redid it on an album in, I think it was 1967 or 8. I did it on one of the albums, and I put written by Jerry Capehart and Glen Campbell. He said, I'm going to sue you. I said, oh, wonderful. Now we can get to the bottom of all of this. But I just let it slide because I honestly realize now, Larry, that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And, what can I do that he can't do?
Glen Campbell's our guest. We're going to hear the title song of this album, talk about it. The Goodtime Hour Revisited's on tour, and if you want to talk to Glen Campbell, who's been doing his thing on a major level for almost 30 years, he's also one of the great guitar players ever. He can play. You want to talk to Glen Campbell, 703-685-2177, back after these messages. Our guest is the great Glen Campbell. What a string of hits he's had. Before we take your calls and the like, tell me about Unconditional Love, this album.
Well, that was one of the first songs that Jerry Crutchfield played for me at Capitol. Jerry's an old friend of mine and a great producer. Jerry's kind of like me. He wrote from the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea on God Bless the USA, and didn't put his name on it. He said, I could kick myself from here to Sunday.
You guys are a little weird. What is this, a new album?
Jerry helped me get some songs together. We played them for Boa, and he liked them. And I think Unconditional Love, it goes back actually to great-grandpa Jesse Campbell. I remember him very well, and he passed on when I was 6 years old. And it stems from there because I remember that old gentleman very well. Grandpa Dan Campbell, my dad's dad, and of course my mom's dad. And they handed down a legacy of, of unconditional love. They were with you whether you were right or wrong, and they loved you. And I think that's what the song's about, and I kind of like it.
Let's hear it, the title song from Glen Campbell's new album for Capitol, Unconditional Love. Glen Campbell, that's terrific. Great tune.
Yeah, it is a good song. Very just simple and straight ahead.
Yeah. By the way, how's our mutual friend Jimmy Webb doing?
Oh, he's doing so wonderful, Larry. Let me tell you.
What a talent he is.
He wrote 2 songs for me. I've just finished a contemporary Christian album in Nashville that'll be out on New Haven label in June. And Jimmy wrote a song called The Four Horsemen from Revelation 6 that you will not believe when you hear it. And he wrote one called Where I Am Going that I did in the album. Jimmy is such a versatile writer. He's probably the most gifted, I think, poet and songwriter that's come out of America, period.
Yeah.
That's my
You could make a case. We're going to break, come back, and go to your calls for the great Glen Campbell. The Goodtime Hour Revisited is on tour starting this week. The new album is Unconditional Love. Glen Campbell, and your phone calls after these messages.
Legend, or as the disc jockey's referred to as the seventh son of the seventh son.
Oh.
A couple things I have for you.
Go ahead.
I believe you have about 3 dozen records now in Capitol. If you haven't done so, I hope you'll consider a compilation album one of these days. Second of all, could you tell me about your days with the Beach Boys when you replaced Brian Wilson? Did you record from, or was it just tours? Anything you tell me about those days?
Oh yeah, the Wrecking Crew. We did the Beach Boy sessions. I remember being in from Dance, 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 Help Me Rhonda. And when they call me on a Thursday night. Mike Love and Carl Wilson called me and said, Brian is not going on the road. We have a concert in Dallas Saturday night. Can you come and play bass and sing Brian's part? I said, well, I know the song. I could probably play it. I'm not a bass player, but I can play bass. I said, I don't know the words. They said, can you sing the part? And I said, sure. And we had a little rehearsal at Capitol Studios. And went through the song that they were going to do on stage, and for some reason, we got through it. And I was there for about 8 months and realized, I think, that I didn't want to spend the rest of my musical career playing bass and singing the high part, which I could have still been doing with the Beach Boys. But actually, it came down to a fifth of the pie, money-wise.
Sarasota, Florida, for Glen Campbell. Hello.
Yeah, 2 questions. So, did you sing on any of those Beach Boys records?
Yeah, Help Me Rhonda, Dance, 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 And the last album I did with them was Pet Sounds. I remember doing 5 different single recording sessions for Good Vibrations alone.
Oh, how about that? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The other question is, several years ago, I went to an oldies store and tried to find your recording of Bonaparte's Retreat, and the guy didn't have... Was that a single, or is it just an album?
It was a single, and it was on an album that Jimmy Bowen produced for me on Capitol back in '74, somewhere along in there.
I didn't know you recorded that song.
Great.
Oh, yeah, I played the bagpipes on it, Larry.
That's a good tune. Minneapolis, hello.
Hello, Larry. Thanks for having Glenn on tonight.
Sure.
Glenn, the first time I saw you was on Shindig back in '64, '65.
Yeah.
And here was this wild man twisting the tuning keys on the guitar and hitting the notes dead on and flying over those strings. And
Thanks.
I never saw anything like it for another 20 years until you were on Hee-Haw and did the same thing with, I forget who you were with, but some first-rate people. And you were just wailing.
Well, thank you.
My question is, Glenn, have you ever done an album, or do you plan to ever do an album in a very loose kind of live kind of way where you're really wailing away up near the limits of your ability, where you're just really doing it, something that, for the musicians?
Letting it all hang out, Glenn.
Yeah, I've got that in the back of my mind to do it. Actually, this contemporary Christian album that I've done, I'm letting it all hang out singing because I got some of the finest studio players that I could find. Paul Lime on drums, Dan Huff guitar, Lynn on bass. Gosh, I can't think of all of them's names.
I think he's referring to your playing, though.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing an album call it Finally, a guitar album by Glen Campbell, where I can play what I want to play, and it won't be country, rock, or pop, or it'll just be Glen Campbell playing the guitar on whatever he feels like playing. Because I asked Willie Nelson why he did Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain. He said because I knew it. And I know a lot of good guitar songs, so that's probably what I will do.
Mount Vernon, Illinois, hello.
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 How are you?
I'm fine, Mount Vernon.
I'm your biggest fan. I just wanted to know what inspired you to do Rhinestone Cowboy.
I heard it on KNX right here in Los Angeles when I was living here. I heard it on the radio out of Larry Weiss's album, and I actually had to stop the car and pull over because the lines that got me most on the song was, "There's been a load of compromising on the road to my horizon," because this was 1974 when I heard it. The second verse said, "There'll be a load of compromising on the road to my horizon." And that's where I was in my life at that time, and it fit me so well that I took it with me to Australia, and that's all I played for actually 3.5 weeks was Rhinestone Cowboy. So I knew it backwards and forwards by the time I went in the studio.
Never get tired of hearing it. We're going to pause for news headlines, a word from your local stations, and back with more Glen Campbell. We have a half hour to go. Glen's new album is Unconditional Love, and the Goodtime Hour Revisited's on tour. Look for them at a city near you. Mr. Campbell's been doing his thing at the top of the heap for a long, long time.
And now, live from Washington, D.C., here's Larry.
Right back to your calls for Glen Campbell. He's on tour again with the Goodtime Hour Revisited, the new album Unconditional Love, Salt Lake City, Utah. Hello.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you for all the happiness that you've been bringing to our family. You're almost like another member of the family for us.
Well, thank you.
And the question I've got for you is, my father and I over the years have had this great debate, and we've been wondering, what do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself to be a pop singer or a country singer?
I just say, this singer. Actually, I'd put guitar player in front of that because my aspirations was to be a jazz guitarist, and then I realized I could make more money singing. Literally in that aspect, and I really love singing. And now I've kind of combined the both, but I don't really care what the style that society or radio stations or the people in the music business label they put on it. I just like a good song. I Remember You, Johnny Mercer. I do that song on stage because I quit drinking 4 years ago and I could yodel again, so I started doing I Remember You because I just love the song. I don't know. It's a pop, rock, country. I guess you could call it crock if you wanted to put it in the middle of everything.
Okay. Now, are you going to be in Salt Lake soon?
I hope so. I hope to bring this Goodtime Hour Tour Revisited to every city in the United States with this show that I have with Nicolette Larson and Jim Stafford and John Hartford, because the show is about 2 hours and 15 or 20 minutes, counting intermission, and it goes by like a flash. I'm loving doing it.
I hope you come by soon. It's been about 4 years.
Well, I do too.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Terre Haute, Indiana. Hello.
Yes, hello, Larry. Thank you for having Glenn on this evening. And I wanted to say that I really appreciate the positive attitude of hearing a song like Unconditional Love. I think we all relate to songs like Phoenix and some of the negative heartbreaks that we've had in our life, and I do enjoy that type of music, but I also remember the song Happiest Girl in the Whole USA and how uplifting it is to hear songs like that.
Right.
And so I really have enjoyed Conditional Love. I have 2 questions. Number 1, where's your hometown?
Delight, Arkansas. That's where I was born and raised.
Okay.
Now it's Phoenix, Arizona. I finally made it to Phoenix.
Do you still have a hometown? Do you still have a home in Delight, Arkansas?
Yeah, my mom lives there now, and we're going down the 4th of July to celebrate her 86th birthday.
Tell her happy birthday.
Well, I sure will.
Okay, and are you going to be in Indianapolis or Terre Haute on this tour?
I will be in East Lansing, Akron, Ohio, East Lansing, Dayton, Maryville, Indiana. I will be in on the 20th.
That's not too far away. Okay.
Thank you. Jacksonville, Florida, for Glen Campbell. Hello.
Hello, Larry. How you doing?
Fine.
Glenn, I'd like to ask you about your background in country music. I know that you had a career as a studio musician before you hit the big time, and I was wondering what you think about the future of country music and Pacifica, a guy named Mickey Newberry.
Oh, isn't that a shame? Mickey Newberry is one of the greatest talents I've ever met, songwriting and singing, but it seems like he doesn't fit in that little slot they call commercial. I recorded Mickey's, and I've done his song on the American Trilogy so many times, and I think it's a shame that people like Mickey Newberry is not on a label and recording what Mickey Newberry wants to record. The whole problem is when you go into a record company, they want you to do, okay, this will be a great song for, drive time. This will be a great song for this. I'm of the mind that, Mickey Newberry just does great songs, and they just don't take the time to slot them in those slots.
Stevensville, Maryland. Hello.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi.
Good morning.
I've enjoyed your music for many, many years.
Thank you.
I have one question for you. There was a song of yours that you recorded many, many years ago called The Highwayman.
Yes.
And I just loved that song, and
I did too.
I lost it.
Thank you.
I cannot get a hold of it for the life of me, and I was wondering if you might be able to suggest some other place where I might try and obtain it.
Well, I'm going to try to get Jimmy Bowen to re-release it on Capitol on CD, because I left Capitol Records. I had 2 more albums to do with them because they wouldn't release that as a single record. There was a whole regime at Capitol Records at that time. I won't name any names, but they're not there anymore, thank God. And they didn't think Highwayman was a good song. I was doing on tour with Johnny Cash in England. Was playing the Albert Hall, and I got back to a hotel we were staying in there, and I sat down with my guitar and I played Johnny Highwayman, and Johnny said, "I like that song, Glenn," and then he got Willie. This was 6 years later. And then he got Willie and Waylon and Chris to do it with him, and it was platinum. It won the Grammy for the Song of the Year. But Highwayman is one of my favorite songs of Jimmy Webb's, and I do it in every show that I do. I've done Highwayman.
Is there a chance they will re-release it in CD?
I'd love to see the album released in CD, yeah. Jimmy has another song called The Cowboy Hall of Fame that's laying out there, too, that I've done. I can never get out as a single record.
Palacios, Texas, for Glen Campbell. Hello.
Hi, Glenn. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Wonderful. I'm a musician, too, but I just want to ask you a couple of questions.
Well, I won't hold that against you.
Okay, good. I'm a piano player. But anyway, how did you ever come about recording the song Galveston in '68? I'm 100 miles west of Galveston down the coast, and I was wondering if you wrote the song, and have you ever been to Galveston, and did the people of Galveston give you a good feedback on that record? And I'll hang up and listen to your comments.
Okay, very famous guy wrote that song.
Yeah, Jimmy Webb.
Yeah. That was a departure for Webb, too. That was not the kind of song Webb writes.
Jimmy was in Galveston. He wrote it about the Spanish-American War. The Cannon Place instruments are still out there. Because I was in Galveston in 1952. I was a kid, and I was playing it on Post Office Street. in one of the House of Ill Reputes, and they found out that we were too young, and they kicked us out. And I remember sleeping in a 1940 Ford on the beach in Galveston, Texas. And how I came about to record it, Don Ho was doing the Goodtime Hour in 1968.
From Hawaii.
From Hawaii, yeah, you know. Bird and Pablo from the shore. And Don gave me his record of Galveston, and he said, Glenn, I think this would be a good song for you.
He recorded it?
Huh?
Don had recorded it?
Don had recorded it.
No kidding.
And he said, but he had done it as a ballad, you know, Galveston, oh Galveston, you know, a la Dean Martin, you know.
Yeah.
And I just kind of did it, you know, I wanted something to play an instrumental on with the bass guitar, so I did it up-tempo for no other reason.
And boy, the rest, as they say, is history. We'll be back with Glen Campbell. His new album is Unconditional Love from Capitol, and they're out on tour again starting this week, the Goodtime Hour Revisited. More calls after these messages.
You're listening to The Larry King Show, live from Washington, D.C. Here again, Larry King.
Living in a House of Love. Glen Campbell's our guest. Now, is that going to be an animated, first country animated video?
Yeah, a friend of mine, Danny Kinster, was working on the Land Before Time and All Dogs Go to Heaven. He was the brother to my conductor for a while, T.J. Kinster. And he's doing an animation on this called On the House of Love, and it will be the first animation, and I'm in that with on a video. And I hopefully, VH1 will play it and everything else. But it's going to be real cute. You know, he did it with a bunch of rabbits living in a house of love, and they multiply very quickly, I guess.
Columbia, Maryland, for Glen Campbell. Hello.
Hello, Glenn.
Well, hello.
This is a voice from your past.
Well, speak out.
1958, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
You recorded a couple albums in a small studio and had a group of young barbershop quartet singers who backed you up.
I sure did.
And I'm one of those singers.
No kidding. Which one was you on? I Gotta Win, I Just Can't Lose?
We did two of them.
Every time you say we're through, I wonder. I did two records, actually. It's 4 sides.
Right. We did all of them, and we were the Glen Airs, I think.
That's right. What is your name?
Cal Sexton.
Well, how you doing?
Great.
Those were good days.
So I just thought when you're on here tonight, I thought I'd give you a buzz and shout at you.
Well, I'm glad you did.
That takes us back a long time, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Hey, thanks for calling that, boy. San Antonio, Texas, with Glen Campbell. Hello.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Glenn, do you remember working on True Grit?
Oh, do I remember working on True Grit?
How could he forget that?
There in Monroe, Colorado?
Oh, gosh, yes. Wasn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, I got a bunch of pictures of me and you, and a lot of pictures of you and Wayne and Dean Smith and Chuck Robeson and off camera.
What were you doing there, sir?
No, I was working stunts. This is Robert Harris.
Hey, Robert.
All right. Yeah, it's been a long time. I remember that's when you did you just first start golf then, or I remember you was...
Yeah, I just started into it then.
You know, you was pretty good then. I remember watching you go out there and you hit quite a few balls there and try to put them on top.
Yeah, what tournament do you host, the San Diego or L.A.?
I used to host the L.A. Open. I quit that in 1953. I had teased Andy Williams so much, I'd called him a Zuzu, right? And then they wanted to call it the something or another Glen Campbell L.A. Open, and it didn't ring a bell, and I saw the writing on the wall. Excuse me, 1983.
83. Yeah, wow.
How quickly I forget.
Boston, hello.
Hi, Larry.
Hi.
Oh, thank you very much for bringing him. Please, a little patience with me because I think he might be an answer to my need right now.
Go ahead.
Campbell, I have two quick questions for you.
Yeah.
I am blind, right? And I write some songs too. I'm pretty new in the music world. And I've written some songs I have the tune too. But one particular problem I have is that I can't afford the production. So I want to ask, can you or do you know anybody or any company that can take up my music and produce it and market them? And if yes, what could be the address or telephone number through where I can contact it? And then what kind of bargain do you think I should enter into with any group that offers to produce and market them?
Well, let's make sure it's on the level, and there's, hundreds of companies in Nashville. Alan Jackson's wife stopped me in the Atlanta airport and said, Glenn, my husband writes and sings. I said, well, call my publishing company in Nashville. Have him call him. So the guy went down there. He worked in the mail room at TNN. He wrote for my company for 4 years, and he's still writing for it. And his first album went platinum. So, you know, you just got to actually call any of the publishing companies. Send them the songs. Send me your song to my publishing company.
Where do you send it to?
It's listed in Nashville. I don't even know the address.
Just Glen Campbell Publishing?
Yeah, Glen Campbell Music.
That's the way to do it, sir, and good luck, San Antonio. Hello.
Well, I guess he just answered my question. I have several demo tapes. I'm a member of ASCAP, and I can't get anyone to listen to my music. I get good reviews from people who hear them, and
it's hard.
I can't get anywhere with anyone listening.
Yeah, why don't, since newness is the only thing that makes songs go, why don't they listen to everything, Glenn?
They're looking for a specific direction. You know, like I said a while ago, whether it's good for drive time or whether it's good for this or that. They really don't listen to see what a good song it is in the first place, I don't think. You know, when you're hot, you can cut a bad song and get away with it. You can cut a good song and it'll be a flop, but it's amazing how the business works.
Send it to Glenn. Which, Glenn, of your hits surprised you the most? In other words, what song sold well that you maybe didn't think would?
I can go the reverse. I really can't.
All right, what song disappointed you a lot?
Where's the Playground, Susie?
I like that song. That wasn't a hit?
It wasn't a big hit for some reason. I guess it's because it was a song about such a definite parting, because Jimmy Webb put that together so well about, when he's gone, and I think maybe that had a negative to it. But I thought Southern Nights would be a big record, and it was. To me, that's the happiest, most up and best feeling record I've ever recorded. And there really wasn't one that I thought would be a big hit that wasn't.
Tallahassee, hello.
Yes, good evening, Larry. I appreciate you having Glenn on tonight.
Sure.
Glenn, I had two questions, actually. Number one, how did you end up recording Gentle on My Mind? And I wanted to find out if you had any advice for an aspiring songwriter who needs a co-writer for the music. And I'll hang up.
Gentle on My Mind.
Yeah, Gentle on My Mind I heard on KLOS right here in Los Angeles when it was a country station. It happens to be the #1 country rock station in Los Angeles now. Mark and Brian has that spot. I heard John Hartford's record on the radio. The song itself just hit me so right where it counts, I guess. Because to me, Gentle on My Mind is such a... It's a great saying to know that you're gentle on someone's mind, or someone is gentle on your mind. And what it said, I've had so many different reactions. I've had it from preachers saying it was a terrible song, that you're shacking up and you're doing this. When I get it I'm not talking about one individual relationship, male or female. I'm talking about friends in that song. And that was actually a work track. I was going to overdub strings, and I was going to do everything else. And Leon Russell was playing piano, Doug Dillard banjo, Joe Osborne bass, and it was actually 5 pieces on the entire session. And I go a little out of tune on it here and there, and I was going to go redo the vocal. And Voyle Gilmore, God rest his soul, who was head of A&R at Capitol Records, he just put it out as a single record. Before, I didn't get to do anything that I really wanted to do to it. I'm glad I did now, because I'd have probably messed up the rawness and uniqueness of it.
And for the young songwriter, just...
call anybody in Nashville. If you know anybody in Nashville, like Paul Overstreet, he writes with different people. Mike Reed writes with different people. Don Slitz, he tried to get The Gambler recorded for 5 years. He recorded it himself. Nothing. Then bingo. Here was Kenny Rogers came along and probably nailed that song as good as anybody could ever nail it. And the rest is history. It made a giant star out of Kenny Rogers. You just have to write a good song and hope somebody has got the ears with holes in them that hear it.
We'll be back with our remaining moments with Glen Campbell after these messages.
You're listening to The Larry King Show, live from Washington, D.C. Here again, Larry King.
Glen Campbell's our guest. The next caller is from, get this, Delight, Arkansas. Hello. Hello.
Who is this?
Oh, let me push the button. Delight, Arkansas, you there?
That's Delight here.
Yes, sir.
You're kidding. Who is this?
Kidding.
Who is this?
My name is Jim. You wouldn't know me.
Hi, Jim.
But It's a pleasure to talk to you, and I wanted to see if you can remember back about 15 years ago, you were on the Tonight Show with sitting by next to Don Rickles.
Yeah.
Do you remember that night?
Oh, yes. Don Rickles makes me laugh.
Me too.
God love you, Glenn. Out here he comes out with, "Hi, folks, gee, I want to sing my song. My mother climbing the mountaintop. Your brother." In the back he's going, "Let's get broad." Where is your hometown, by the way? Delight, Arkansas. Well, nobody's ever heard of Delight. Yes, I do. I have an uncle that runs a manure pickup truck. Saturday night Delight. Oh, come on. Got it all over me, Al.
Oh, do I remember that now?
Don Rickles. Go back 30 years with Don Rickles. That was funny.
Oh, boy, I tell you, I go back with him, too, from the old place down there on La Cienega.
Yeah. Portland, Maine, with Glen Campbell. Hello.
Hello, Larry, and hello, Glenn.
Hi.
I don't have any questions, but I wanted to tell you you made a new friend when you did your concert here in Portland, Maine recently.
Oh, thank you. That was so much fun, and on up to Orono, it was just fabulous.
Yeah, I remember you went there afterwards. I just want to say really how much I enjoyed it. I was like the third row from the front, and I got a perfect view. And I admired the way you let the rest of your people have their time on stage. And I admire your candidness about things. And I just want to say how much I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a lovely call. Santa Fe, New Mexico. Glen Campbell's new album is Unconditional Love. Hello.
Hello, Larry.
Hi.
Glenn, I'd like to take you back a few years. Do you remember a ditty in Albuquerque that used to go, "Riding down the trail to Albuquerque, saddlebags all
filled with beans and jerky"?
You got it.
Oh, I
cannot remember your uncle. He's your uncle, wasn't he?
Yeah, Dick Bills.
Dick Bills.
And the Sandia Mountain Boys.
That's right. I'll tell you, that takes me back to the old days when I was a kid, and it's such a thrill to be able to talk with you because I never liked country music.
Oh, well, thank you.
Until I learned to listen to it and appreciate it with you. And
well, thank you.
It's just such a thrill to hear you on the radio, but I wanted to remind you about your Uncle Dick Bills because he was really super, and I grew up with him.
Well, thank you. When you're in Santa Fe, go put a note in Roger Miller's mailbox for me. You can put anything on it. Doesn't matter.
Well, listen, you ought to come back and visit us because Santa Fe's sure grown up, and it's a beautiful town. And
I've never been there. I hear it's terrific.
Well,
it's gorgeous, and let me tell you, if we can find a place to play up there, I'm going to come to Santa Fe.
Well, we'll find you a place. You just give us a call, and we'll find you a place to play.
Thank you. Last call for Glen Campbell, Pelham, New York. Hello.
Hi, Glenn.
Hey.
I just want to say it's great to talk to one of the best guitar pickers I've ever heard.
You're not kidding.
Oh, thank you.
Listen, a long time ago, about 1964, I believe, you made some records with the Kingston Trio.
Right.
I'm just wondering if you remembered any of the details. There's particularly a live album that was made at the Hungry Eye in San Francisco.
Right. It was a very famous album.
Yeah.
Yes. That was the most fascinating week I ever saw because Bill Cosby was the opening act, and I got to sit there for a week, 2 shows a night, and watch Bill Cosby totally raw, totally new, and he was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life, and he still is.
One of the trio just died, didn't he?
Oh, you're right. Dave Gard.
Dave Gard.
Yeah, God rest his soul. But Bob Shane and John Stewart was with them. And John Stewart's the one that taught me how to play banjo. Because I played a 6-string German-made banjo on the Reverend Mr. Black on that album, one of their albums. And,
boy,
it's tuned like a guitar, you know.
Hey, we run out of time. Glenn, we look forward to seeing you soon. Much good luck with the tour and the album. And
thanks, Larry.
Long life and good health.
Hey, you too. God bless, and thanks for having me on the show.
Special guy. Glen Campbell, the new album, Unconditional Love, and Glen Campbell's Goodtime Hour Revisited on tour.